Today I want to talk about workspaces. So when you're working with a user, they have lots and lots of data in the system. But to make it simple, you can create workspaces to push the meaningful data out to the user. Hi, my name is Alicia, and I want to show you today how to create a workspace in Microsoft Dynamics D365 Finance and Supply Chain, how to share the workspace so that you can add value to not just one user, but to users across the organization. So we're going to start out on our home screen, and when you're on the home screen, you have a lot of workspaces, a lot of tiles. Now, I'm a system administrator, so that's why you're able to see so many. If you're a typical user, you're not going to see all these. You may just have 2 or 3 squares or 2 or 3 tiles. To add a new tile to the workspace, you just want to right mouse over somewhere in the white space, and you're going to say personalize the tile, or personalize the page, really is what you're doing. And then you say add page. When you do this, you have a couple of options. You can either add a workspace, you can add a Power App, or you can add a website. In this example, we're going to talk about workspaces. So we're going to say add workspace. This is what you're going to name the workspace. So in this particular one, I'm going to call it Finance. And then I'm going to say OK in the lower right corner. So now if on my home page, if I scroll down to the bottom, I should have one called Finance. So typically the one that you add will go down to the bottom of the list. So again, here's our tile. So now I'm going to go add some stuff to the tile. If I open the tile now, you'll see it's empty, right? Because we haven't added anything to it. So we want to do, that's the first step. So now we want to go build some queries to add to our tile. So let's say, for example, finance may want to know, let's just say open vendor invoices. So let's say they want to see all the open vendor invoices. So again, on this particular one, we don't really have to create a new query. So we're just going to say all of them. So in the top, we're going to say options, add to workspace. And then here, we're going to go down to finance because that's the one that I made. Here we have the option of saying a tile, a list, or a link. So we actually want a little square that's going to say the number in it, right, is how many we have. So that's going to be a tile. We're going to click configure, and then this is what we're going to call it. So this is what the name of the tile is going to be. So this is going to be open vendor invoices. All right, and we do want to see the number, so how many of them there are. This is how big the tile is going to be, and this is the view that I'm going to use. Now, if we go back to our home screen, go down here and click on our finance tile, we should now have, on our workspace, we should have one tile, and now it has the number of open vendor invoices. So to see those invoices, I can simply click on the tile, and it takes me to that screen. Now, something else I could have done is if I want, I could build my own query. So let's just say, and I'm going to randomly pick something here. Let's say I want to see all of the invoices for this particular vendor. Okay, just as an example. So I'm going to go up here, I'm going to build my query. And of course, your queries that you build, you can have as many queries or lack thereof that you want. And that's perfectly fine. So here I just put a query on here. So now I see all of the open invoices for 1002. Now I'm going to go up here and save this. And we're going to say open vendor invoices. And I'm just going to say equals to that particular vendor. And I'm going to save it. Now when I go up here to options, add to workspace, again I have this filter turned on. I'm going to say add to the same thing to the tile. And now you can see it's going to adopt whatever I named my query. I could change that if I want, because if it gets too long, it won't quite fit in the box. Let's just say invoices equals like that. Let's just do it that way. And then we're going to say OK. Or add to workspace. So now when we go back to our little house and we go to finance, we now have 2 tiles. So if I click on this, it's going to show me just that list. All right, so I think you get the idea. Now let's talk about the other types. So if I say add to workspace, and now I'm going to say a list and configure, it's going to say, okay, what do you want to call it? Again, we're just going to call it maybe invoices 1002. And now I can tell the system which fields I want to see in my list. So again, when you go to that tile, it's going to now show a list of these, and I can handpick which fields I want to include in the list. All right. So we're going to say add to workspace, and now again when we go home, we go to finance. Now you can see I have a list of those, and you can see the columns that I have here, and that was based on those check marks that we just did, which I just used the default ones. The last one that I want to show you is again open vendor invoices. And if we put our filter back in here, we'll just leave it that way, it's fine. I'm going to just leave it as an open filter. We're going to say add a workspace, but this time we're going to say a link. So configure, open vendor invoices, add a workspace, and then one last time we're going to go back to our little house. We're going to click on finance. So here's your tile, or the tiles, here's the list, and again you can have multiple lists. If you did, you just have another tab and you'd click on it. And now down here at the bottom we have just a link to open vendor invoices. So that's just different ways that you can get to the data. Now there's one other quick little thing I want to show you as far as the tiles go. You see how this tile here is just a square, but you can see this tile here has actually a bit of information below it, which I could click on. So to see this little bit of information below it, I may actually have to click on the tile. If I go into the tile, I can go in here and I can say personalize, and then here I can say pin to dashboard. So if I say pin to dashboard, what I'm telling it is I want this to show up underneath that little tile. So now if I go back and I look at my tile down here, you can see that I have invoices for vendor 1002 here. So it keeps me from even having to open the tile to see the information. So it's super, super cool. And I can tell you, well, your users will absolutely love you for setting this up for them or teaching them how to do this. It makes their life so, so much more simple. Again, people care about the data they need to do stuff with. If everything's great and they don't need to do anything with the data, they don't really need to see it. So those tiles are like action items, things I need to be aware of or to need to take action on. One other thing I want to show you is how to share the information. So if you go under system administration and then setup and under personalization, you can go under user settings, or actually it's personal views, under personal views. And I typically look for things by name so that way I can find mine. So like here you can see my finance. Now at this point I have a couple of options. I can either publish this out and then you can hear all your published views here. The other thing I can do is I can export it. So if I wanted, I could actually export this and import it into a different environment. So let's say you're doing UAT and you have all these nice workspaces set up and stuff in test. You're like, hey, I want to now export these into another environment, maybe another test environment or something like that. You can export it and then go into the other environment and import it. So you can actually move these things around, which is super cool. If you have some that you don't like anymore or want to get rid of, this is one way to delete it. There's other ways as well, but you can do it here. But what I want to show you is copy to users. So if you click copy to users, and then you can go in here and either pick, you can pick the users. If you are under all users, you can just put check marks beside it and say copy. And now those people have that particular workspace. Or you could go in here and do it by role. So if you knew everyone with a certain role should have it, so maybe the accountant role. So again, it pulls those people up, then now you know you can query very easily and just put check marks beside their names and say copy. So there's different ways that you can like query on the data here to do your check marks, and you just say copy and then it will copy it out. So again, super easy. Just go into this to create your tile first, create your queries, and then add all those different queries to your workspace, and then go in here and share it out. And I think you'll find this super, super helpful. And again, your users will love you.